So my name's Amani Channel. Thank you so much for that introduction, Sarah. I'll get a little bit more into my background and what I'm doing now and where I've been and where I'm going as we move forward. My Twitter is @Amani Channel. You can feel free to email me at any time at amani.channel@gmail. And I call this skills to pay the bills in a new media world because as you all know and as I know from personal experience, the traditional roles of journalists are, of course, changing. Folks need to know how to do a little bit of everything. And also outside of journalism, you have to know how to play in this new media, social media landscape, because that's where a lot of the new opportunities are arising and coming from. So as a background, you know my name already. I'm a media educator. I currently am teaching an adjunct video production class at the University of West Georgia. I co-founded a video production tutorial site, as I just mentioned, called webvideochefs.com. Started doing that in 2011, so it's been going for about a year now. I'll talk a little bit more about our plans to turn that into a profit-generating business. I'm a former broadcast news reporter. I've won a couple of awards as a producer, and then I've been involved in social media since about 2006. A little bit before it really became mainstream, I was blogging and on Twitter and doing all those kind of things. Even as I was doing some freelance reporting as well. And then I currently work in broadcast PR, so I'm now on the dark side, fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, but that's what's paying my bills right now. I work for a company here in Atlanta called KEF Media. So just to give you a quick history, I've worked in news for most of my professional career. I started in DC at WJLA as an intern and then worked on the assignment desk. I went on to work at Fox 13 in Tampa as a reporter. I moved to Atlanta in 2006 to work for Black Family Channel, which then went out of business like 7 months after I moved here. So that's when I really had to start using some of my entrepreneurial skills, being innovative, sort of build my own personal brand. And I started doing that through the site called myurbanreport.com, which was a blog that I launched back in 2006 when I was working at Black Family Channel. And then I started freelancing for a network called the HD News out in New York, which is now defunct, as well as the AP. And most recently, the last TV station I worked for was Public Broadcasting Atlanta. It's an NPR station here in Atlanta. And then now I work for KEF Media. And so I've definitely gone from the traditional news reporter career to now, not only using my skills to sustain my family. Like when Black Family Channel went out of business, I basically started doing video production and freelancing for full time. And that's how I sustained my family for about a year and a half. And was fairly successful at it. I mean, we managed to pay the rent and pay the bills as best we could until I currently got the full-time position. That was after my son was born in 2008. My wife was like, you need to go back and start working. So enough about that. All right, so this is really a time of survival, right? I mean, I was just talking to Sierra before this session, and as we were discussing sort of the landscape in Philadelphia, one of the biggest newspaper units there is going to go through another round of layoffs. Here in Atlanta, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution has had 3 rounds of buyouts. They're streamlining. The paper is a mere fraction of what it was when I moved here, and I'm sure you guys are experiencing the same thing there in Philadelphia. And so even for the broadcast folks who have a broadcast background, I talked to a lot of my friends who still work in news, and they're like, look, more stations are hiring one-man bands. They're asking the reporters to do more. You got to learn how to do a little bit of everything from Facebooking to Twittering to, one-man band reporting. And so the multimedia skills definitely will come in handy these days. And from a personal branding perspective, I look at it like anything you can do to stand out from the crowd is a plus. So any other skills that you bring to your career or to your journalism, daily journalism duties, it's a plus. And really now is the time to get out of your comfort zone because, you just can't, it's not business as usual at all when it comes to the traditional journalism or media jobs. And you really have to think like an entrepreneur. You have to think of how can I build a business to sustain my family, even if it's a side business, even if it's just a hobby, how can you parlay that into some sort of revenue generating enterprise? If you guys have any questions throughout this, please feel free to just jump in. I would assume that a lot of you have Googled your name. When I worked in news, I used to Google my name all the time. And back in 2006, when I was leaving Fox 13 full time, I maybe had 3 or 4 hits. This is the 10th page, and I know it probably doesn't show up that clearly, but this is the 10th page of the Google the Google hits, when I Google my name, Amani Channel, you can see, if you can see there, there's still a, I mean, this goes like pages deep now, just because of me being active in social media, from my blogging to I post a lot of videos online. So the more you can do to have a digital presence, the higher, like, you know, if a prospective employer is going to Google your name, if someone's on LinkedIn and they Google your name, if you run across another professional, they want to learn more about you, the more you can do online will help you in terms of building your own personal brand, and then also just having a lot of different links and can add to your credibility when it comes to people who are searching for information about you. As I move into this presentation, I want you to first and foremost remember that no matter what news organization you work for, no matter what you do, you are a brand. So when people think of Amani Channel, hopefully they think of a father who has a good family, who you know is married and all that other stuff. But in terms of my professional brand, a video producer, a journalist, a guy who's very innovative and has pushed the envelope in terms of digital media. Some of those things are what I hope people know me for. And but you know, it's all in perception, and it's all how you present yourself and all how you publicize yourself. So ask yourself, do you have any hobbies or interests outside of news? Remember that everything you do online can build and enhance your brand. And if you're involved in social media, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, if you're on LinkedIn, you have to assume at all times that people are watching and listening. So I'm sure you're well aware of the incident that recently happened with Roland Martin, where it was during the Super Bowl and he tweeted out something about H&M, and it caused a whole groundswell of controversy. He had to get suspended from CNN even because of his comments. So no matter what you're doing, even if you think no one's listening, you have to be very careful about what you say in this new transparent digital space that we're living and working in. And if you're seeking new opportunities, they can and will manifest if you've positioned yourself in an effective and efficient way, if people are able to find you, especially online. So what are some of the shooting and editing trends that I see? Well, first of all, video skills are in demand. As I mentioned, one-man band reporters. Even here in Atlanta, they have some of the stations. One of my good friends, he's working at one of the local networks, one of the local outlets here. He's a one-man band, camera person, reporter, shooting, editing, doing everything. And you know, he didn't have those skills before, but you know, now I mean, he's a seasoned journalist too. So at one time, you know, you'd be a one-man band if you worked in a smaller market. Now, one-man band reporters are becoming almost the norm. My station in Tampa, Florida, they have a one-man band journalist. I would venture to say there are probably a couple of one-man bands in Philadelphia, if any of you know of that. I wouldn't be surprised, though, because one-man band reporters are definitely becoming a standard, even in the larger markets. So in terms of videography, there, of course, you know, tapes are becoming tapeless. So at one time we carried the big old, you know, beta cameras. You know, those are really out of style now. Most cameras are tapeless. The DSLR cameras, like the, you know, Canon 7Ds, and you know, those cameras are more popular than ever. Panasonic makes the GH2, which is a really popular camera. I think one of the main camera brands just announced that they're gonna, I think I forget which one, but there's a new, you know, they're constantly being upgraded, coming out with new cameras, and I'm sure Sarah is well aware of the cameras and how those DSLRs are becoming more and more popular. In terms of editing, I will venture to say that, you know, the days of Final Cut Pro being the industry standard, or one of the industry standards, is going to change, just because a lot of professionals really aren't accepting Apple's latest version of the software, which is Final Cut Pro 10. And so, you know, Final Cut really had established itself as being a strong competitor to Avid, which was the professional standard. But that is, I'm sure that's changing, and that is changing, or it will change in the near future. Though, you know, at my job, we still use Final Cut Pro 7. In my school where I'm teaching right now, they still use Final Cut Pro 7. It's still a great software to use and to learn, but in terms of the updates, and you know, I think the professionals are going to more venture into Avid or Adobe Premiere will be the two softwares that most professionals end up moving towards. And once again, you have to learn how to do it all. So from the storytelling aspects of it, you really have to learn how to integrate the video skills into what you do, because you know, I think, what is it, 60 hours of video a minute are getting uploaded to YouTube or something like that. I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of content that people are producing and uploading. And that's, of course, speaking to more of the user-generated, but still, it just speaks to the power of video right now. Any questions so far? We'll keep going. All right, so I just wanted to go over some shooting and editing best practices. So for those of you who are thinking about or have tried to start producing your own videos, You know, lighting is important. It's important to always be conscious of your lighting. If you've ever tried to shoot video in a dark environment, it probably didn't come out too well. So if you're outside, use the sun as a light source. If you're inside, use lights. Even use a table lamp. So when I'm doing my Skype interviews, I'll have a table lamp set up as well as a little clip-on light that was like 15 bucks from Home Depot that I'll use to illuminate my face. Because even if it's a web interview, you want to make sure you're using professional techniques as much as possible. Audio is, I would venture to say, it's even more important than video. With video, sometimes you can get away with like photos, and you can use other things to help you get out of a pinch if your video quality isn't there. But you know, there's no way to skirt around bad audio. Bad audio will ruin a piece. And so always use a microphone. And if you don't have a microphone, just watch your ambient sound. Make sure that, you know, the music's down. Make sure the TV's down. Make sure that you're in as quiet of a place as possible. If you're going to interview someone, if you're using like your cell phone to do an interview, or if you're using like a pocket camera to do an interview and you don't have an external microphone. Talk a little bit about composition. This is something that all you photographers and videographers are well aware of, but there's something called the rule of thirds, which is a composition rule. So as you're shooting or starting to shoot, you imagine that your screen is separated into a tic-tac-toe board, and then you frame your shot according to that grid. And usually your composition will look acceptable, will look more professional if you use that rule of thirds composition rule. And then shoot sequences of shots. So when I was learning how to shoot, before I actually started reporting on air in Tampa, it was a reporter trainee program. And so I had to work behind the scenes. I worked in the assignment desk. I had to shoot. I had to edit. I had to do a little bit of everything. And so when I was learning how to shoot, you know, I was taught to keep it simple, use a tripod always, and then shoot sequences, shoot wide, medium, and tights of everything. And make sure you record 10 seconds of a nice, steady, well-framed shot. And if you're going to go back and edit, usually you will have more than enough to cover yourself if you just shoot wide, medium, and tights. Hold your shot for 10 seconds. Count out loud. Count in your mind as you're rolling. It should come out fine. And always have visuals to match your narration and sound. So that's, you know, video is what do they call it? A hear cow, see cow, or something like that. But if you can't see it, you can't say it. That's pretty much the rule with visual storytelling. So make sure you have visuals to match your sound or narration. You know, sometimes there are cases where you might have a video poor story. Well, you may just ask the subject to sit in their office and thumb through some, you know, files, or you'll see the setup shots a lot of times where the person will just be sort of walking down the hall past the camera. You use those kind of shots to get in if you're in a pinch. But you know, the more compelling the visuals, that will just enhance your story. And then let your sound drive your story. So, you know, don't, you know, worry about overly narrating your story. If you have good compelling sound, let your sound be the driving piece, and then you create your story around your sound. You guys can hear and see me fine?
Yeah, you're doing great.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to talk about some of the digital skills now that may or, well, I want to say may, I would say may or may not help you out, but I think they may, because from what I've seen, digital has become a strong force to reckon with when you compare some of the job opportunities that are out there now. And so, you know, seek out freelance opportunities with online sites. And if you're having trouble finding those, start guest posting. You know, that's something that happens a lot of times in the blogosphere, where you will reach out to a blog and say, hey, I'll write a guest post if you'll feature it on your site. And if you're an expert, or I would imagine you all are a seasoned journalist, you're in Philadelphia, that's a good way to improve your search engine rank by, you know, having your content featured on sites, as well as just get your name and brand out there in terms of you know, your writing skills. Start a blog. So back in 2006, when I started my urban report, I was actually kind of hesitant to tell a lot of my professional colleagues that I was blogging. Back then, it wasn't really something that was mainstream. You know, I was out of the news business full time. And so I was like, well, it seemed kind of like a low budget way of telling stories. But, you know, what it's been about 6 or 7 years now, it's been a very important personal branding piece, having my blog out there, both for lead generating, for you know, finding clients and customers when I was freelancing, to current job opportunities. So I'll tell you this quick story. I was working at a public broadcasting Atlanta doing some digital. I was a content community manager. So I was already doing some digital stuff at the time. And I got a phone call out of the blue, actually an email from an individual. And the email went, hey, Amani, I have a company called KEF Media here in Atlanta. We're a broadcast PR company. I ran across you online and I'd like to talk. And so I was, hey, there's nothing wrong with the conversation. So I had a phone call with the gentleman. He was the CEO, owner of the founder of the company. He brought me in, met with him and some of his people, came back, had a second meeting. It wasn't even an official like interview kind of situation. They ended up hiring me, pretty much, almost doubled my salary. And so I was, I after I was working there for a couple months, I was like, well, what made you reach out to me? And he said, well, I saw this video of you online where you were pushing your kid through your neighborhood, kind of just talking. It was a video that I produced with my iPhone. I think I was wearing like a wife beater. So there was nothing even really professional about the video. But he said, when I saw that video, just seeing you with your son talking to the camera, it really resonated with me. I knew you were the guy I wanted to hire. And so just from having an online presence, you never know who's going to find your content. You never know who's going to run across it. And so, you never know what content is going to resonate with someone. You never know, how people are going to find your content, but just having it online is going to increase the chances that someone, even a potential employer, a potential contact, or colleague who can perhaps put you in touch with someone who may need your skills, will be able to reach out and contact you. So with that, start a blog, start building your social media presence, start building your personal brand. I guess I can, let me see if I can switch back to Skype so I could, hold on a second. Are you guys on my screen, or are you guys just on Skype right now? Okay, you're looking at my screen. Okay, cool. So I'll just keep on with the presentation. Then I was going to say how many people have started blogs, and I can't see you all, but hopefully all of you have started a blog. There's some really simple blogging platforms. There's one called Tumblr, and there's another one called Posterous, which are very simple blogging platforms that allow you to create a blog really easily. There's also blogger.com, WordPress are some popular blogging platforms as well. So if you're thinking about starting your blog, these days there's obviously a lot of competition. We're kind of in the area where blogging is. I don't say this it's matured, but it's not unusual for anyone to have a blog these days. So find a niche subject. Sort of do some research before you start your blog and see what's already out there. If you're looking to cover something really specific in your market that isn't covered a lot, I suggest you do so. And since you all are professionals or students, you probably have a leg up on a lot of the other content that's out there, because honestly, a lot of the bloggers and a lot of the independent writers are not that good just because they're amateurs. They're not coming from a professional background. So I know we're kind of running out of time here. Understand and learn to leverage social networks. So of course, LinkedIn would be a good place for you to start if you're not involved in social media. LinkedIn is a network, a community of professionals. There are groups, there's questions, there are jobs. It's a very helpful place if you're looking just to find out more about opportunities or just to talk to people. Facebook is more of the general place for your friends, family. Everybody and their mama's on Facebook these days. But still, I've gotten leads from LinkedIn. I've gotten leads from Facebook. I think anywhere where you can have a social presence where a lot of people are gathering, and Facebook is like the largest network right now as far as I know. It's good. And then Twitter, and then G+. So Twitter is great for news. It's great for breaking news and sending out quick little messages, kind of like a microblog. And then G+ is Google's newest social venture. So create user-generated content. I already kind of went over some of the best practices when it comes to visual content. So new media reporting. First of all, smartphones are great tools for gathering content, whether you're doing it independently for a blog or for a news organization. Twitter is great for breaking news, for sharing stuff really with that immediacy. There was the Hudson plane crash that happened a few years ago, where that photo that the rescuer took, or the person on the ferry, was actually the first image that was out there. There wasn't a news station. I mean, a lot of times these citizen journalists are able to break news and scoop mainstream media. Facebook has its pages. You can build your presence there. And then using some of the other things. So with Skype, this is something I do all the time for web video chefs. I'll interview different video experts and post the interviews on my site just by using Skype. You can also use Skype if you're a broadcaster. You can do interviews via Skype. I just say watch your lighting, watch your audio, those kind of things. And just practice or test it out before you jump in and do that. And then there's live streaming. You can live stream from your mobile phone. You can live stream from a computer these days. You can do a live stream pretty much. There's some free sites that allow you to do live streaming. Everything that you're able to do as a broadcaster, you're now able to do in some form or fashion using digital technology, using internet technology. And then always share. If you're not sharing, if you're not tooting your own horn, who else will? That all goes into the personal branding. You need to be talking about everything you're doing. If you write an article, everything you do should be sharing with your networks. So I'm going to go over some quick multimedia sites and apps. For video, of course, there's YouTube. There's another site called blip.tv, which is more for independent serial kind of shows. There's also vimeo.com, which is great for, it's more of a creative community where people share their, cool videos that they produce. Usually it's in HD. There's not the same kind of general craziness that you'll find on YouTube. For photo sharing, there's Flickr, there's Picasa. There's a site called PhotoBucket. Those sites all allow you to create like slideshows, and you can embed the slideshows on your blog or on a website. Most of the tools are for free. For mobile live video, there's a site called quick.com, which allows you to stream live video from your mobile phone, whether it's Android or iPhone. There's a site called Blog Talk Radio, which allows you to have an online radio call-in show. It's an online radio call-in show basically. So it's similar to a radio show, but it's of course all online, done via phone. But it's basically you can have your own call-in show. You can have guests call in. You can stream music, all of the above. And there's another cool site called cinch.fm, which allows you to do like mobile podcasting. So I can be anywhere with my mobile phone and just record a quick little audio segment, and then instantly it'll upload it to Cinch. It'll send out a tweet. It'll link to my Facebook. It'll syndicate to all my networks. So it's another way to immediately share content, multimedia content. Here's some good resources if you're interested in more digital journalism or just journalism trends in general. Pointer, of course, pointer.org. MediaShift, pbs.org/MediaShift. There's the Online News Association. The URL is there. It's journalists.org. Copyblogger. So if you are interested in more like marketing, building your brand, creating, monetizing your content, Copyblogger is a great resource for doing that. I would suggest you start reading his posts. He has some services and products that he sells as well, but definitely a great resource for those who are looking to step up their online marketing, build their presence, that sort of thing. And then for video production, I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit, say go to webvideochefs.com. We have an interview that we just posted up with Neil Augenstein, who's a radio reporter out of DC, who's doing all of his reports with his iPhone now. So he's been doing this since like 2010 or something, really a pioneer in using mobile technology, but he's using his iPhone for 100% of his news gathering, both recording his audio track, for recording his actualities, recording his sound. And, we're trying to share good information with the site, both video production tutorials, answer people's questions. And then there's also a site that's called lynda.com, which is great for tutorials. I think it's like 25 bucks a month. And then creativecow.net also has video production tutorials to help you get started if you're trying to learn how to edit. If you're having an issue or problem, there's forums where you can ask people questions, that sort of thing. So like I said, now we're at a point where you can create your own revenue streams. So in addition to my Urban Report, which is my blog, which I will, let's see, I think I have it up here. So this is my Urban Report, which is the blog that I started in 2006, if you guys are still looking at the screen. And it basically, I just started, I started on Blogger, and I eventually moved to a self-hosted site. And I don't maintain it as often as I used to, just because, I'm now focusing more on webvideochefs.com. But this really did sort of jumpstart me in terms of, building my personal brand, building awareness for my skills as a professional, as a, guy who's involved in social media, that sort of thing. This is the video production company, Visual Media. So I have several, websites that I maintain that people can learn and find out information about me. Of course, these are more professional type of videos. And then I have my Urban Report YouTube channel, which just has my, more user-generated kind of stories. I think I have one queued up here. I won't play it, but this is a video that I did when I was out covering the Gina 6 rally. And I just have, I don't know, I've done like a gang of videos, so I'm not going to go through and show them to you. But, it's all part of, and at the time I was just doing it because it was new technology. I felt like now I didn't need the mainstream media to share stories. And so that's really what got me into the new media. And then let's go to this. I'll just go to Web Video Chefs real quick. And so this is and basically, so our strategy with building a site, we haven't created any revenue for ourselves yet, but we're really in the early phases of the site. But we're providing free tutorials right now. We have people who are signing up for our e-newsletter. And so once we scale it and build up our e-newsletter subscribers, eventually we will start having password protected content. We will start offering exclusive content, and then have products, have training classes that people can purchase. And so, we're getting really great feedback. It's just sort of a work in progress. I have a partner in Baltimore who actually met on YouTube in 2007. So it's all kind of full circle. So now we're both kind of creating tutorials, helping people out, really trying to just, share our expertise to help people create videos. And so if you are thinking about, creating a site, possibly monetizing it, do your research, learn what's out there on the market. And then there's a couple ways to monetize. You can either monetize through advertisements, through sponsorships, or you can sell products or sell your services. So if you are, you all are journalists, so you have great writing. You have great writing skills, I would assume, and those skills can definitely be monetized in some form or fashion. And then if all else fails, there's always PR or grad school, and I know about both now because I work in PR now, and I just finished up grad school in 2010. So do you have any questions for me? That's basically my presentation. I hope this was really helpful and informative. Sorry that we were having some Skype issues, but I think it was because we were trying to do video and really didn't need to.
Questions? Yes, come on. Why don't you just, if you guys have questions, just line up here because he can hear you.
Yes, I can hear.
Here.
I just wanted to know, is the join.me free to set up? Is that a free thing to set up?
Yeah, the join.me, I can, let's see, I can show it to you. Yeah, the join.me is free. This is this is what it looks like. It's really simple. You just click share, this share button here, and you get a URL. There's a little application that has to download and install, but then you get this little URL at the top, join.me/, and you just share that with whoever you want to see, and you can share your screen with people. And I've used it several times. Like sometimes people will ask us for specific questions. We'll kind of do a tutorial and show them by sharing our screen with them. So it is free. There's a premium service as well, but it is free in general.
Other questions? Your presentation was very comprehensive, and you provided a lot of good websites, apps, information that I know people will go to now, and everyone is writing feverishly, and I was tweeting it all as well. So, it was a lot of good information to sink our teeth into. Any other questions? Last call.
Did you say we can see the addresses again and screens?
Yeah, they were asking about seeing the presentation, and I'm sure you'll probably email it on, and I can forward it if that's okay with folks here.
Yeah, I'll make a PDF of it, and I'll send it to you.
Okay, great. And then we'll send it out so you'll get all the exact URLs.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you so much, Amani. Thanks for giving us part of your Saturday.
Oh, you're welcome. Hopefully I'll see you all in New Orleans.